How are you? So Swamiji, I just took permission from Swamiji that I could give a couple of announcements for the online participants. And I had started a little earlier, and I'll just pick up from where I left off. I think those of you who are watching online have realized there's been some problems with our transmission. And the first day on the 28th, it was because monkeys were jumping on the wires. And I think for Swami Padmanabhanji's talk, only about 15 minutes got transmitted. But fortunately, we have an audio version. The quality may not be very good, but we will share it with our WhatsApp group, and I will share it with also people on my WhatsApp. If anybody knows they're not connected with me on WhatsApp but wants to send me their WhatsApp number, they can do that. So that's number one. Number two, we also last night had trouble with the transmission in night satsang. But fortunately, when it was recognized about the trouble of transmission, it was the talk and everything was recorded. So that has been uploaded under videos on the web, on the YouTube channel, so you can see it. It was a beautiful talk last night. And somebody also asked me who was it who was speaking, because they'd never seen her before. So that was Pravarti. She's from Belgium, and she's very long-term disciple of Swami Chidanandaji. And she had brought many times over the years groups from Belgium to the Christmas retreat, and they were also doing kirtan at the end. So it was kind of a Belgium contingent that were sharing with us last night. And Holland also, Belgium and Holland, not to forget Sri Dinesh. And so that is that apology for the problems with transmission. And some good news. Swami Nirliptanandaji, he is going to be answering questions. And I think we all know Swamiji gives very, very thorough answers. And he has a load of questions. And so we've got him scheduled for today. And then we have him scheduled for our meditation period tomorrow, 5:15 to 6:15. But it's still not going to be enough time, I don't think, to answer all the questions. And so Swamiji has agreed to come tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'll start at 4 o'clock, and Swamiji will answer questions for 1 hour, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Then we will take a 15-minute or so tea break and start again at that meditation period, 5:15 again to 6:15. Now, if Swamiji can't finish, we still have to cut the broadcast at 6:15 because the tech team has to get set up for the night satsang. So if Swamiji's in the middle of an answer for us here sitting live, you'll understand why he's been cut off. It's just the live stream has been cut off, but we'll try and have somebody record so that we can put it up, at least share it in WhatsApp if Swamiji has to go overtime. So Hari Om Tat Sat, and thank you, Swamiji, for coming.
Thank you, thank you. So it should be where it is?
Yeah, what?
This table.
Yes, can you read that okay? Or do you need to maybe...
I will hold it and then...
Is that okay for you?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
गंगणपतये नमः। ओं गुंगुरुभ्यो नमः। ओं ऐं सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओं नमः शिवाय। ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओं नमो भगवते रामचंद्राय। ओं नमो नारायणाय। ओं श्री परमात्मने नमः। परब्रह्मणे नमः। ओं आत्मने नमः। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा। नमः शिवानंदाय गुरवे सच्चिदानंदमूर्तये निष्प्रपंचाय शांताय निरालंबाय तेजसे। न गुरोरधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोरधिकं तपः न गुरोरधिकं ज्ञानं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरोः पदं मंत्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोः कृपा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओंकारं बिंदु संयुक्तं नित्यं ध्यायन्ति योगिनः कामदं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः। दिवि भूमौ तथाकाशे बहिरन्तश्च मे विभुः यो विभात्यो भासात्मा तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः। ओं श्री परमात्मने नमः। ओं परब्रह्मणे नमः। ओं आत्मने नमः। ओम। We are having the question answer session. Revered Atman, all the participants of the spiritual retreat, physically here and also online abroad. So, welcome to you all to our question answer session, and also we extend our hearty best wishes to you for the new year. Happy New Year to you all. And also may we have a very good spiritual feast by way of our question answers, because many seekers have given very useful and nice questions. So it will be rewarding for us when we go through these questions. So now, welcome to you all. Let us now get to the business. So, Hari Om, one question is like this. During the... You said that there was another question from previous year, first one.
This is the first one.
First one. Achha. Spillover of last year. Okay.
It's not from last year, but her question of last year never got answered.
Yes.
So I thought I'd put her question of this year first.
Yes, yes. Because you see, whatever had come first has to be answered first. So because it had come last year, so that is in every way the first question. Hari Om Swamiji, Pranam. During the retreat we learnt that trust is essential. Yet doubt often arises even from the smallest events and can weaken or suppress it. For example, I feel fully supported by the divine on my spiritual path, yet deep inside I still wonder, is it really true? Comparing ourselves to Panchali, who faced unimaginable hardships, yet never lost trust in Krishna. What do we lack? Why can we have why cannot we have this unshakable trust? Is there a logical explanation for why doubt overcomes trust? And can you give practical advice on restoring it? Now, it says that during the retreat we learned that trust is essential. Yet doubt often arises from the smallest events and can weaken or suppress it. That means I feel fully supported by the divine on my spiritual path. Yet deep inside I still wonder, is it really true? When you say, is it really true, what are you questioning it? Your faith in it. These are the two opposing, and you have also given the example, comparing ourselves to Panchali, who faced unimaginable hardships. Why cannot we have this unshakable trust? Faith in God, faith in Krishna, and what Panchali had. Panchali means Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas. So that she had faced unimaginable hardships, yet never lost trust in Krishna. What do we lack? We lack only, that lack of trust, lack of faith in Krishna or God, which Draupadi never lost it. She never missed it. She held on to it. So, in spite of all hardships, she never lost it. This is the example, this is the lesson for us. So, if we also want the same type of support or benefit, or this help from God, we should have that type of trust. It should not be shaken, even if so many hardships are coming to us in our day-to-day life. Now, what do we lack? We lack that determination. We lack that faith in God or in our spiritual path. We lack that trust. Because of that, it is flimsy. And we are, if there is some hardship, some problems come, immediately we start doubting it. Is it worth it? You are saying that, can we have this now? Is it worth it? Will it help me in my last moment also? When I want it, when I need it, whether this help will come or not. This type of doubt is there in our mind. We are not sure, or we are not very hopeful that some good will come. So that lack of, our determination, lack of our tenacity, and also, not fully being sure whether God will help or not. So that type of trust is not there. That faith is not there. That is what is our problem. So if we take the example of Draupadi, though in spite of all our hardships and difficulties, we should be able to have that trust. What do we lack? Why cannot we have this unshakable trust? We lack that faith. We lack that certainty that God will help us. And you may think, if I am depending on God, I am pinning all my hopes on God, yet supposing the help does not come, what happens to me? That type of thing is there. Because for Draupadi, in spite of all hardships and all difficulties, she never lost faith in Lord Krishna. And she knew that she will help. Of course, she did not expect that God will help her at that time. But she had the faith, because God will never fail. If we have faith in Him, if we have devotion to Him, if we have the feeling of dependence on Him and total dependence, if it is total surrender, then the help will come. You know about Draupadi, what happened? She thought that when she was in trouble in this court of the Kauravas, she first tried her best. They were trying to disrobe her. In fact, they disrobed her. And at that time, she was thinking that probably somebody around will help. Nobody was there to help. First, she was saying that, you see, Bhishma, who is supposed to be the senior most of the Kauravas, and he was also standing just as a witness. And then others also were there one by one. Drona was there and other people were also there. Nobody came to her rescue at that time. Nobody helped her. And so at that time, and first she tried to protect herself as much as possible. That she tried. It was beyond her power or strength to hold on to the cloth. So that these clothes were taken off. And at that time she found that there is nobody else to help me. All around it is all dark, or it is all, you see, this helplessness. Nobody will help. At that time she just thought of Lord Krishna, and then as soon as she thought and surrendered herself totally to Krishna, at that time mysteriously Lord Krishna came in the form of the sari. You know that sari, the women which long this cloth which they have, that in form of the sari, you see, he came, Lord Krishna. So from that we have to understand our efforts are inadequate to face the problems of the world. That doesn't mean that we should not do our bit. We must do our own part. Whatever is there, that we should do. Thereafter, when we totally fail, nobody else is there, there is no help from anybody, at that time God will come to our help. That type of faith is necessary. And dependence. And also there are two obstacles why we are not having that type of faith. First we think that I'll be able to do myself. And we do. We don't think of God at that time. And when we are in difficulty, we struggle. But thereafter a point comes when we feel that nobody is there. It is all, you see, totally helplessness. It is totally, you see, blank at that time. Then we think of God. And God alone can help. Even if there is anybody who can help us, it is God alone at that time. So when she totally left everything, her hands also she raised. That is this for praying to God, Lord Krishna, and that please help me, like that. At that time when there is total surrender, then the help from God will come. So this surrender will come when we have this trust. If we feel that God is ultimately the only person, only being who can help us. Other than God, nobody is there who can help us to steer us clear through the ocean of the world or in the midst of our difficulties. When we have this feeling and then total surrender to God, this surrender will come only if there is faith. So first we must have faith that God alone can help us and He will never fail us in our worst of difficulties, God will surely stand by us. This type of faith is necessary, and this trust is necessary. When you have this trust, then you see this the help from God will come. And when we totally depend on God, and then leave ourselves totally to God, and surrender ourselves completely, at that time help from God will come. So long as there is any feeling that I will be able to do it myself, or that others who are around us in the world, they will help us, they will bail me out of this, so that will not come. But when everything fails, nothing else is there, we feel at that time that God alone can help me in this precarious situation. So at that time, when we make total ungrudging surrender, unreserved surrender, at that time help from God will come. And this surrender will come only when we have this trust. Without trust, this feeling will not come. So we have to have total trust is essential. Doubt from this arises from the smallest events. Deep inside I wonder, is it really true? Is it really true means your doubt is true, or that whether God is true, or that you see it is true that God will help us. These are all you see doubts. Whatever is your question, accordingly you have to see what will be the answer for this. First thing is, we are not adequate to the task. We cannot do it by ourselves. This we must accept. Secondly, all persons who are around, the world cannot help us in this particular situation, because the world has also its own limitations, and their total help may not come forth also. At that time, the only help and only being or person who can help us is God Himself. So this is the meaning of this trust we must have. Total surrender and also have complete faith in God, and fully have full trust in God. At that time, this type of help will come. What do we lack? We lack this faith in God. And why cannot we have this unshakable trust? We cannot have this unshakable trust only because of these difficulties, which shortcomings we just discussed. Those things are our obstacles. Those things have to be set aside, and then leaving everything, depending totally on God, making total surrender to God. At that time, this trust will come, and when we have this trust, then only help from God will come. If you don't have trust, why God will bother about us? And why will He think of us? There is no need. You have no need of God. So God also will not have no need for us. And God also will not give us this help. When we leave everything and then totally depend on God, then God will help us. But doesn't mean that we should not do our part. We should know that for everything God will come, and we have to have trust in God, He will do everything for us. This is not necessary. To the extent we can do ourselves, we should do that. Whatever is possible on our part. But when we know that it is not possible, leave everything and then totally offer it to God, surrender to God. At that time, help from God will come. This is what is there. Ultimately, we should have the trust that God alone can come to our ultimate rescue. That is, there is no other way. But God will never fail us, because it is His determination, it is His place, resolve. He has announced clearly in the Gita that, you see, my devotee never perishes. My devotee never comes to grief, doesn't have any difficulty, because He is there. He will actually help us. That is what He says. God will always help us. So a devotee who has this type of faith in God and also is a trust in God, God will never fail, He will also come to us. But this trust is necessary if you want to have help of God, blessing of God. This is what we must do. So now from this you should try to find out what are we lacking. Is there a logical explanation for why doubt overcomes trust? Can you give practical advice on restoring it? Doubt overcomes trust because they are mutually opposite to each other. If we have trust, there will be no doubt. When we have doubt, we will have no trust. Having doubt means we don't have trust. We actually question ourselves only. We question the trust itself and question the possibility of help from God. So that is all because of lack of trust and because of this doubt. So we have to overcome this logical explanation. Why doubt overcomes trust? Only because we don't have full faith in God. If we have faith in God and also be aware of our own limitations, at that time trust will come. We have to accept that we cannot do everything by ourselves. We have a lot of limitations. First thing, recognize your own limitations. And secondly, without God, nobody can help us in this particular situation. So then we must have full trust in Him. The complete trust in God. So this logical explanation is this much. Why doubt overcomes trust? Because as I said, it is the job of doubt to neutralize trust. So that is why it is. So actually this doubt comes to us because of the play of God's trick, God's Maya. It is called Maya. And it is this Maya of God. Also it will act in such a manner to see that we don't have trust in God. It is a kind of test for us. Whether in spite of all odds, in spite of all difficulties, are we still having faith in God? Do we still depend on God? Do you still think that God is all merciful? He can always help us. He will always help us. And He will never fail us. If this type of thing is there, that is trust. And it is the duty of our job of the trust to doubt, to see that we don't have it. And it is only a test of God. How far are we having faith in God? When we are faced with difficulties, do you still have faith in God? Do you have still trust in God? It is a question for us. And if there is trust, there will be no doubt. And if we have doubt, there will be no trust. Like that we must understand. So we must brush aside all these things, difficulties which come to us, etc., which try to shake our faith in God, shake our trust in God. If we are able to discard all that, then and pin our faith totally in God, then trust will come. That is trust. This is what we should know. So there is a logical conclusion, explanation. Why doubt comes? Doubt comes because it is in our mind only. We are only entertaining doubt. God has nothing to do with doubt. So this we must understand. It's a play of our mind. We should not have any doubt. Removing all doubt, fully depending on God as the ultimate resort. And also having faith in God that He will never fail us, He will always stand by us, He will always protect us, He will always give us help. This thing we must have it, then it will be possible. So we have now, I think, discussed about the practical advice on restoring it, restoring that trust. From that you please work out what is. There are some more questions. How can we cultivate absolute trust in the Supreme Being when we are repeatedly confronted with difficulties and disappointments that sometimes make us question God's will. Most of the things have been already explained. Now the first thing is, sometimes they make us question God's will. This we must understand. As I said, this is the trick of God Himself, just to test how much you have faith in God. And these tests will come to us. So, sometimes disappointments and difficulties also will come to us, although it may be a part of or the consequential result of our own way of dealing with things and behaving and acting and all that. At the same time, it can also be a test of God. So, understanding this, how to make this, we should never question God's will, because God's will is supreme. Supreme in this world, in the entire universe. Even if you question God's will, nothing will happen to God's will. God's will remain intact, and it will always supersede or override everything else, because that is how God's will is supreme. We must know that. So we should never question God's will. Questioning God's will, it is having lack of faith in God. But a person who has got faith in God, he will never question God's will, because he knows that God is the Almighty. God is supreme. He has absolute powers. He can do anything he likes. And he can undo also anything, because he is a supreme being. He has got all powers. Nobody can match him. Having known all that, etc. So anything that comes to us, these things should be discarded, rejected. And he was saying difficulties and disappointments also should be taken as the blessing of God, because when we have difficulties and then these disappointments, God wants to test us. How far you have faith? Are you having faith in spite of all these difficulties and disappointments? That is faith. It is not that if everything that comes to us, if it happens to us, etc., it is very nice, we will say that God is very kind to me. And if things are not according to our expectation or not favorable to us, then we said that no, God is no good. It is not so. God is always, the most, He is the friend, He is also the father, mother, everything of this world, of all of us. This we must remember. Mother never, leaves the child. Come what may, whatever happens in the world, mother always, protects the child. And God is all millions of mothers and fathers put together. So God will always protect us. This type of faith should be there. Any disappointments or difficulties, if they come, at that time we must remember this. So God is the only hope for us, only way out. So if we have this type of conviction, this type of faith in Him, and totally depending on Him, God will never fail. If we depend on Him totally, ungrudging, total surrender. If we have surrendered to God, then He will always bless us and take care of us. That is why. So if sometimes these things come which make us our question, sometimes question God's will. A devotee will never question God's will. Then he has not understood who is God. So what are God's power and how powerful He is. And he has no faith in Him. So we should never allow our faith in God to be shaken by anything. Difficulties, disappointments, they are a part of life. They will come, and in a way they are also test of God. These two things. God will be testing. In spite of difficulties, etc., how is He still having faith in me? Like that God will be thinking. So we should take it as test of God. We should also take it as in spite of all this, are we still having faith in God? Then we are really good devotees. And we should never allow anything to question God's will. These are all a play of our mind. It is only our mind only entertains these doubts. So we have to reject all that. Hold on to God. Continue to have the same faith and trust in God. Then things will be okay. Next question. Because of work, I have trained myself to anticipate problems, analyze or preempt situations and scrutinize details. The better I am at this, the more I am valued at work. Over time, it has become a habit outside of work as well. I found myself sizing up situations, judging, dissecting, critiquing, and trying to anticipate and control outcomes. I recognize this impulse is an expression of God. How can I engage competently in the world without reinforcing the ego patterns that I am trying to eradicate in my spiritual practice?
Swamiji, there is a typo there. It's not God. It's ego. In both cases, it's ego.
Ego.
Yes. So where is it? I recognize this impulse is an impulse or an expression of ego.
Expression of ego.
Oh yeah, in both cases it's ego. It's an expression of ego. Oh, somehow God came out.
Oh, okay. God himself is...
God was saying, yes, maybe God was telling us that.
Yes, and he had himself corrected this and made the statement is okay.
Yes.
Question is okay.
Yes,
These words are okay.
Fine. Yes, maybe just read those two sentences again.
Again, yes.
With both ego in both.
Yes, let us read the question again. Because of work, I have trained myself to anticipate problems, analyze or preempt situations, and scrutinize details. The better I am at this, the more I am valued at work. Over time, it has become a habit outside of work as well. I find myself sizing up situations, judging, dissecting, critiquing, and trying to anticipate and control outcomes. I recognize this impulse is an expression of ego. You see, we should not think that it is a problem of ego, or it is you see this, because of this work, it is a wrong thing. It is not so. Because in all, you see, you have said that because of work, I have trained myself to anticipate problems, analyze or preempt situations and scrutinize details. The better I am at this, the more I am valued at work. Over time, it has become a habit outside of work as well. And I find myself sizing up situations, judging, dissecting, critiquing, and trying to anticipate and control outcomes. All these things that you are saying, this is a good thing. And it is, you see, necessary when we are in the work. When we are doing in the work and taking some decisions and acting, these are all, you see, unless there is ego, we cannot do this. Here, the ego is not in the wrong sense, or in the sense, you see, which will be harmful to us, or it is opposite of spirituality. It is not like that. Here, in the spirituality also, in our spiritual practices, an element of ego is necessary. When we feel that, no, I am a spiritual seeker, I have to do spiritual practices, etc. This is also a play of the ego, part of the ego, but it is good for us. Ego is there, sometimes its activity will be helpful to us conducive, and also you see take us in the spiritual, up in the spiritual path. But this ego can also, when it works in a negative way, and it's darker side of it, then it will pull us down. It will be an obstacle for us. Like that you must understand. With the help of the ego, we have to overcome that little ego, that negative part of the ego. That we have to do. But for that also, ego is necessary. Even for our spiritual practices, doing all spiritual sadhana, ego is necessary. It is only ego decides that I have to do spiritual practices for my own betterment and for spiritual good. I have to do that. This is also an act of ego only. But this is a better part of the ego. This is, you see, which is more helpful. And which is, you see, this it helps us to rise up or carry on with our spiritual practice. This is one thing. There is a negative side of the ego also, which will be harmful. Where you see it is worldly, it is, you see, all negative thoughts are there, negative sentiments, and that is harmful to us. This we must understand. And this part of this ego, which makes us engage in spiritual practices and also carry on with all our this spiritual things that we do, etc., that is the positive side of ego. So that we have to hold on to the positive aspect of ego, positive side. That will help us for spiritual activities, spiritual practices, and progress. That is necessary. But the negative side is there, which is harmful to us, of the same ego. Negative side is there. This will be not good for us. So we have to make a distinction between the two, bifurcate these two, and also leaving or rejecting that negative play of the ego. We should hold on to the positive side. Then it will be possible. That is what we must understand. So if you are saying that I find myself sizing up situations, judging, dissecting, critiquing, and trying to anticipate and control outcomes, I recognize this impulse is an expression of ego. But this is a good side of ego. This is, you see, this good expression of ego. This expression of ego is necessary. The ego also, we have resort to ego in order to proceed in the spiritual path, depending on the spiritual or this positive side of the ego, positive aspect. This is what is there. And negative side we have just discussed, all the negative tendency in our mind. This lust, greed, anger, hatred, jealousy, etc. These are all negative side of the ego. And this is harmful to us. We have to reject all that. Similarly, having doubt about God, doubting our own faith, doubting our trust in God, this is also a negative aspect of ego. This we must get rid of. We must be away from this and then concentrate or fix our mind on the positive aspect of God, positive aspect of our ego, which helps us to proceed in the spiritual path. Like that we have to. And then when we are totally fixed on the spiritual positive side of the ego, then the negative side will become less and less automatically. And in the long run, we will be able to overcome it. That is how we have to see. So this this impulse as an expression of the ego is a good thing if it is for the positive, as we have just discussed. And if it's negative, we are overpowered by the negative, then it will be harmful to us. How can I engage competently in the world without reinforcing the ego patterns that I am trying to eradicate in my spiritual practice? Now you have to make a bifurcation between the negative side of the ego and the positive aspect, as we have just discussed. Reject all the negative aspects. When you say that it is an expression of ego, that is true, it's an expression of ego. But then positive side also is an expression of ego only. So these two things we have to make a distinction, bifurcate them, separate them, and then depend totally on the positive aspect. Hold on to the positive and proceed. Then our negative tendencies, negative aspect of the ego will become less and less. Like that we should carry on it. And our idea should be to eradicate the negative aspects of the ego and cultivate the positive aspect, and also depend totally on this, and also try to strengthen it as much as possible, the positive side. If we do that, then negative will automatically be powerless, and we will be able to ultimately overcome it and eradicate also. That is how we have to do that. To eradicate this negative side of ego should be our part of the spiritual practice. The other part will be concentrating on the positive side. Positive always overcomes negative. So that is why if we don't bother too much about the negative side and don't try to, fan it, or to give support to this negative side and ignore it. Concentrate on the positive side. Think only of the positive side. If we concentrate on the positive aspect of this ego, positive side, which will be helpful to us in our spiritual practice, then the negative will automatically get reduced, and in course of time will totally be eradicated, will totally be overcome. This is what we should do that. So it is very good that what you are doing, it is very nice. You can engage competently in the world without having this, reinforcing these ego patterns. As if you have understood, that means the positive aspects we have to concentrate and try to strengthen them. And the negative side, we should try to not further nurture it, not further give support to this, ignore it. And if you do that, don't worry about it. Automatically, it will be removed from our mind. So the positive aspect will always be, get the better of this negative side. This is what we should do. So better to concentrate on the positive side and increase it, strengthen it as much as we can. And the negative side, not to further this nurture it, not further give any support to this, and ignore it, and don't act on the negative side, or don't act according to the negative impulses of the ego. Then automatically the negative will be destroyed, it will be eradicated totally. This is what we should do. The next question. In my efforts to maintain peace of mind, I tend to choose what creates the least disturbance. At times I wonder if I am merely choosing the path of least resistance. Am I really maintaining peace of mind, or am I unknowingly cultivating indifference and an uncaring attitude? Or is indifference an aspect? Is indifference an aspect that at the start is necessary, helpful for having peace of mind? In that it is teaching me to let go of control and leave it to God. You see, this cultivating indifference to these negative aspects which are there, that we must do it. First having indifference. And for maintaining peace of mind, you tend to choose what creates the least disturbance. It is good. You see, why to invite some trouble and then try to fight it out? If just by giving, you see, being indifferent, you are free from this. You don't have to wrestle with it. And you don't have to give any attention to that. It doesn't create any problem. You don't get into any difficulty. That is the best way. Not, you see, inviting trouble and try to fight it, but then ignore it. If we ignore, supposing that helps you better, rather than wasting our time and energy for fighting it out. So the best thing is ignore it. If we ignore and don't support it and don't go with it, then you see automatically it's a great help. Our energy will not be wasted or time is not required. Like that we should do. So this is the it creates the least disturbance. That is true. That is very good. What you create the least disturbance, you choose the what creates the least disturbance. This is a good thing. This is a tactful thing. It is not foolishness. This is what everybody should do. Why to have unnecessarily fight with somebody if fighting is not very necessary? Like that we must. Similarly with the ego also. For controlling, having peace of mind, it is better to choose the what is the least disturbance. That is a good thing. And at times I wonder if I am choosing the path of least resistance. Yes, choosing the path of least resistance is not a bad thing. It is helpful to us. So rather than, you see, this wrestling with the problems or with the working of the mind, just if that helps you, you are at peace, you have not to worry about anything, it is a better. Though the path of least resistance is the first thing. But where you cannot just by having this least resistance, then it will not solve your problem. If it still continues, then you see we have to do fighting with it also. Both the things. First, ignoring it, having the path of least resistance. If it is possible, that is the best thing. If it is not possible, if you have to fight out, then we must go through all the other exercises by which we can control this mind. And we don't fall a victim to it. That is what it is. Am I really maintaining peace of mind, or am I unknowingly cultivating indifference and an uncaring attitude? No. This cultivating indifference and an uncaring attitude is good so far as these troublesome difficulties are there. It is better. If by ignoring it you are solving the problem, you are being free from that. That is the best thing. The line of least resistance, this is the first thing. But if that is not possible, that will not, you see, help us totally, then we have to think of fighting it out also. Both the things are necessary. This indifference or uncaring attitude is good by itself to some extent. First, that should be our approach. But if that is not possible, then go on for fighting. Is indifference an aspect that at the start is necessary, helpful for having peace of mind? Yes, that is helpful in the beginning to some extent. To the extent it will solve our problem, that is the best thing. First, the line of least resistance and not fighting with anything unnecessarily. But then when it is beyond that, so things are not getting solved by just indifference. So then we have to do actual fighting. Or is indifference an aspect that at the start is necessary, helpful for having peace of mind? Yes, it is necessary in the beginning, at the start, because that will solve most of our problem. We will be free from all these problems, sir. In that, it is teaching me to let go of control and leave it to God. Not let go of control. We have to actually see that whether things are in control or not, things are all right or not. We must have a vigilant mind and see that whether things are okay. We may be thinking everything is all right. It's just by indifference you will be able to get rid of it. It may not be possible. If things are getting sorted out just by indifference, automatically that is the best way. But if that is not possible, we must be alert and see that if the problem still persist, if our difficulties are still continuing, better then go for the next thing. To have this fighting a little, getting consciously rid of our problems. That is the first thing. In that, it is teaching me to let go of control and leave it to God. It doesn't teach us to let go of control. No, it is not. We have to see that it should be under our control. We should never leave our control of the situation. It is necessary to the extent we have just discussed. And then leave it to God. When it is not possible, it's still not happening, it is beyond my control, beyond my capacity or power, then we should leave it to God. And leave it to God also, it is not just you leave it to God. For that, for God to come into the picture, we must invite Him. And we must also have dependence on Him, have trust in Him. And also do prayers to Him, then only God will come. Otherwise He will not come. Just leaving it to God is not helping us. If we leave it to God with dependence on Him, trust in Him, and praying to Him for help, then God will come. This also we must remember. Yes, in that it is teaching me to let go of control. It doesn't teach us to let go of control. Control must be there. We must have proper understanding and also observe it and also see that things are okay. Then you can leave it to let go of control. Otherwise, and then we can leave it to God. When we find that we are not able to do it, it is beyond our control, then we leave it to God. That is how we should do it. We should leave it to God after having done our bit, and then leave it to God. That is the best way. And leave it to God means it is just not that you leave it to God, God will come and He will do it. It is not like that. For God to come into the picture, we must pray to Him and we must seek His help. We must also have trust in Him. Then God will come. We must have devotion to Him, depend on Him, then it will come. How do I overcome the guilt of giving up my morning worship routine in the ashram on Sundays for idlis in the dining hall? If you want to overcome the guilty of giving up your morning worship routine in the ashram for Sundays, on Sundays, or for idlis in the dining hall, best thing is don't have any this, go for the idlis in the dining hall. If it is, affecting your morning worship. But supposing this morning idli will be available only at a specified time. You have to stick to that. Otherwise, idli will not be available. So that is why don't give up your morning worship or prayer, and adjust your time in such a manner that you have idlis and also are able to do our prayer. You do your prayer either before idlis or after it, like that. In any case, it is not to be foregone completely. We should not give up totally. That morning prayer which is there, as per your routine, daily routine, if you are having it, we must stick to that. Swami Shivananda Maharaj says that never this fail in your this prayer, etc., even for a single day. If it is meditation, or if it is prayer, or it is in other spiritual practice, never give up those things even for a single day. And then, if you have to adjust to something, do this adjustment. See that you get the idli and also have this prayer and just in the name of idlis, you see, if we give up our prayer, etc., it is not a wise thing. It will be a foolish act, not good for us. This we must remember. So, do things in such a manner that organize them in a proper manner, so you have both, best of both. Like that we have to see. Okay. It is over. This is one thing. Then there are other things.
Probably we can continue that tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay. It's time. Okay. Very
Swamiji,
good.
These, after you finish all those questions, then these questions have also come.
Hmm.
After,
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes, yes.
So I'll
After
just
we
give
finish with
after
these
you
things,
finished all those, the questions that,
then we will attend to these questions. So today's session is over. Very good. Thank you very much. So we have end of this, we have closed this with idlis. Very good.
Thank you so much. And please don't forget, 4 o'clock tomorrow, we'll be here for 1 hour, 15-minute break at 5, and then another hour, 5:15 to 6:15. And actually, it could be a little longer, but the recording goes. But if we have a secondary, have some kind of recording machine, then that can be, because that'll be good quality, I think. It can be uploaded.
So whatever questions are left out, the remaining, we will take up tomorrow, etc. So thank you very much. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you.
Om.